Hi, this is Scott Marker. Here's another episode of Treasure Valley NIA QuickTips. What it is I'm a franchise owner of a network and action franchise, which is a once a month professional networking and brainstorming groups. I have three groups here in the Valley. And through that, I have a lot of local business owners that are rock stars. And I meet just a lot of great people. I like to bring them on and share their expertise. So today's a perfect example of a really unique kind of an area, grant writing. Laura, introduce yourself.
Hi, Scott. Thanks for having me on today. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
My name is Laura Hull. I'm a grants consultant based out of Boise, Idaho. I started my company almost 10 years ago. My
Oh,
son was one years old. He's about to turn 10. So almost 10 years ago. And I did that just coming out of the nonprofit sector, kind of tired of trying to balance the child care, parenting life, and then doing a whole bunch of things inside a nonprofit, and decided to focus on one thing that I thought could help the world make a better place and fit my new family. And so grant writing was it. Premio Services is my company. I'm half Italian, so Premio means award in Italian.
oh, cool.
And our services are basically just focused on helping nonprofits build capacity, which is kind of a common theme in the sector.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I'm, as you know, that's one of the reasons I really, was attracted by what you did there was what you do is because I'm real passionate about here in the Treasure Valley, Idaho, is you hear usually we are either the top or the or close to the top of per capita more nonprofits than any per capita anywhere else in the United States of America, meaning which will tie right into what you do, meaning that we're really a caring community, which I like being part of it, fourth generation Idahoan, but at the same
Yeah,
time, having that many nonprofits, there's a lot of hands out. So there's a
yeah,
lot of competition between the nonprofits
yeah,
here in the
yeah.
valley. So anyway, so you're a specialist in grant writing, and which I brought you in because I love it's part of the networking. I love areas that I know, like have no clue, but I always hear are really important. So today that's why I'm have so kind of like we talked before before we're on a couple questions like so what grant writing services do you offer as you in your business?
So our services that I mentioned are all based around capacity building and keeping
Okay.
that in the back of our minds. Our mission is to provide transformational grant services to organizations improving communities. So those are nonprofits. My clients are all nonprofits. I do
Okay.
have consultations from time to time with for-profit organizations. They will reach out to me and ask, are grants available? And so I have a few resources I can always share for for-profits, but most of our work is in the nonprofit sector. Our services are grant readiness, where we help organizations get all their ducks in a row and be truly ready to seek grants so that they're optimizing the resources that they have, usually limited resources. The deliverable at the end of that, aside from all the great, strategy work that we do, learning about an organization through that service, is a case for support or a master grant template at the end. So anything that you're seeking grants or grant funding for, we will write narrative for you for that. And then all the information that you need to go after grants is right there at your fingertips in one place. We also do, these are usually bundled in one package. So readiness is followed by research. If we're able to do readiness, that kind of intensive 1 month process with an organization, we really get to know what they do and understand what their gaps are. We're able to offer insight into, maybe where they need to do board development or they need to do something differently in their leadership or that kind of thing. We can identify, I've got a lot of nonprofit experience, and so I can identify gaps like that. And then as we move into the research, all of that information will inform how we seek possible grants or grant funders. And the deliverable at the end of that service is what we call a funder assessment, which is usually between 10 and 20 grant prospects. We use two to four grant seeking tools. The two main ones are very costly. So you're not getting like your Google grant search results, right? We
Yeah.
start with usually between 1 and 300 results, and we narrow that down to 10 to 20 targets, which we then rank as primary or secondary. And then we'll also give some tips and strategies to nonprofits for how to create relationships and kind of get your foot in the door for funders that don't accept unsolicited applications. There are a lot of them out there that will only fund who they know. So we kind of
Huh.
help out with that a little bit too. Following readiness and research, we will often move right into writing and management. Writing and management are actually two separate things. So I often say grant writing is very little writing. It's a lot of preparation. It's a lot of collaboration. It's a lot of organization, a lot of research, making sure you've got all your data in one place. And then it's really about making a connection with funders that are well aligned in terms of your mission and your vision and your values. Going back to the Google searching research, a lot of organizations will do that, and then they really are just chasing the wrong money, is what I often say, just throwing that kind of spaghetti at the wall approach, which really does not yield good results. So as we go through writing and management, we're very strategic, following our grants calendar that we've built out from the assessment. We're very strategic about how we approach each funder, and we work very closely with our clients, whether they're all volunteer or they have, they're a bigger budget and they have even a grant writer on staff. We can be there to help kind of guide that process and alleviate a ton of stress. Where I do the most alleviating stress is when I'm working with an executive director who is basically the whole thing, running the whole show. And I like to tell executive directors, I'll give you your weekends and nights back, so you're not writing grants at midnight on a Saturday, right? Trying to make the Monday deadline or whatever. So writing and management is kind of where we keep our retainer clients. We keep working with them longer term. I also offer coaching. So for bigger organizations that have grant staff or development staff, I can step in and kind of help. It might be a seasoned fundraiser who has never done grants and just had them land in their lap. It might be someone fresh out of college who might have all the degrees, and all the certifications for grant writing, but has never actually done it.
Right.
Or, as we all know, you come out of college and you get that first job and it may not look exactly like you thought
Yeah.
in the real
Yeah.
world, right? So I really enjoy doing that too. And then we also do workshops. It's one of our favorite things to do, is get out in the community and teach about all of the services and everything that they entail, and how that looks for different size nonprofits, different cause areas. We really love doing that too.
That's cool. So, is grant money is like it's is it like free money? I mean, is it like free money? And then how long does it take you to get it? I mean, so if I'm a nonprofit, I mean, again, this this episode is a thing. I'm sure people that, yeah, like you said, went to college or this is kind of their job now, they'd understand more of this. But like with me, it's kind of like I'm like, where's the grant money come from?
Yeah, yeah. So that's a common question that I get. And a lot of how I approach people when I'm just talking about my business is just saying, we demystify grants, right? Usually
Okay.
people outside of the nonprofit sector, and it was certainly like this for me too before I joined the nonprofit sector. They kind of go, what's that? That sounds scary. That sounds like a lot of work, which it is. Um, but grants are technically, yes, they're free money. You don't have to pay them back. It's not a loan. But they're not free in terms of the labor that goes into preparing for them, looking for them, being ready for them, getting them, and then managing them. So a grant cycle typically goes between 12 and 18 months. Some of them will go longer.
Okay.
And it's really that whole cycle that you need eyes on, and not just one set of eyes usually, but several, or a team, or like I said, it's a team sport. So yeah, it's definitely it is technically free money, but it's free money that takes real resources to obtain and then keep and increase over time, which is really the idea once you have a good relationship with a funder.
So if like, I mean, what are we talking about? Like, what type of money is 5,000, 5 million?
Yeah,
I mean, are the grants all over the map?
they're all over the map. Yeah, they're,
Okay.
they're all over the map, and they're all different types.
Okay.
So they can range between, it could be like $100, $500. I see that in the research. Some of the smaller numbers, those are common. And then they can range all the way up to millions of dollars. It just depends
Okay.
on the funder, depends on the cause. There are different types, like I said. So you have your government grants, which are federal grants, and
Okay.
then you have state grants, and then local grants, right? So municipalities or that kind of thing.
Okay.
You can have um, You can have grants that are like a grantor that's a subrecipient. So you might be getting a grant from that. Say you're getting a grant from the state, but it's a subrecipient from the federal government.
Okay.
And so the federal funds can kind of trickle down that way, or they can come directly from the source. Again, it depends on the grant. And then you have private grants. So those are typically corporate grants. So it's the giving arm of a corporation, right? The 501(c)(3) arm, foundations, family foundations, that kind of thing. And then within foundations, you also have certain types. So like I mentioned, family foundations, you also have community foundations. Every state will have one of those. And those are what they call donor advised funds. So people who have money that they want to give to a certain cause, they may not be sure about where to take that money or how to best, give it. And so they'll go to a community foundation, which then has staff that helps connect them with the causes that they care about. And then they become the reviewers oftentimes on boards or on groups that are then choosing who the recipients are. So those donor advised funds can be really great for exposure for nonprofits, especially if they don't have budgets for marketing and that kind of thing. They can at least have donors' eyes on their applications while they're being reviewed. So grant money comes from a lot of different places.
Wow. Again, that's why someone needs to at least to have a consultation with you because again, there's just like the more you talk about it, it's like wow, it's just, very intricate. It's not
Yeah, yeah.
straightforward. So what like so for you, your services, um how I mean, how do you work? I mean, how do you charge people for using your services and then what do they get out of it? I mean, are they, I mean, how, I don't know how do typical grant writers work?
Yeah, so grant writing is a professional service. I
Mm,
get asked this question a lot, do you get paid a percentage of the grants that you win? I'm a member of the Grant Professionals Association, and it is actually in the Code of Ethics. It's against the Code of Ethics
okay.
to work on contingency. There are some grants that are structured that way. Some federal grants are structured that way, where the grant administrator is written into the project and then paid out at the end. But generally speaking, that's not how it works. I work under contract. I have project-based, value-based pricing for all my projects, project fees. And so I will just charge a fixed fee for each service, readiness and research. You come on as just a package fee, and then it's just a monthly fee from there, depending on the number of grants that we're writing.
So what are, give me some success stories of some people you've helped and what type of grants they've gotten. Or if they had maybe they in the past they couldn't get any grants and then they bring you in and all of a sudden they're getting a grant.
Yeah, I've got a lot. I've got a lot of success stories. There was a coaching one where I had a gal that had been doing fundraising. She was my anonymous example there for coaching. She had been doing fundraising for a long time and never touched a grant and was really scared of them, just very intimidated. And so it was really great to be able to step into that organization. I understood their cause area very well, had worked in it closely, had gotten lots of grants in that area before, and was able to kind of build out that confidence just with giving her some knowledge, and give her some guidance. And she was off. She was sending me things that she has written, and they were winning grants, right? So that was, and I mean, winning as in like really good. And then also she was getting the awards for her organization. So that was great. And that was a fun experience, just being kind of stepping in and then stepping out and then watching the success from there. A client win that we had not too long ago was an organization that had a volunteer executive director for over 10 years, who we
Wow.
then were able to get a capacity building grant for them. So a salary money, which is really some of the hardest money to get in grants,
Mm.
that unrestricted operating funds or funds things that fund things like salaries. And so he was able to step away from his job and step in as a paid executive director. That was a great win. I'm also grants manager for Idaho Public Television, and we've had some wonderful wins. I can't take a whole lot of credit for these because we are a very tight team over there. But some really great wins in for education across the state, things like kindergarten readiness, getting libraries into our books into our libraries,
Right.
and that kind of thing. Just helping our local communities by really listening to their needs, and then aligning ourselves with funders that were looking to solve those same problems and joining together and being able to do that.
I'm a fan of the show.
Yeah.
So I listen to it. I like yeah. When you mentioned you help them out, I work there. I like that things. I really like them.
Yeah.
They do their fund drives all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I'm not on TV telling everyone to call the number. I'm just in the background writing the grants.
I know, but you got to do it. You know, it's like kind of
Yeah.
what it does. Um, uh, so if there was what 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 what's like three things everyone should know about grant writing if you're going to be trying to do that for an organization, and what should the organization know?
Um, I would want them to know the types of grants, like I explained. Like I said, they can be kind of mystical. So not knowing what's out there and what each one is, it's important to understand the flow of funding, what the source of the funding is, and then depending on what that source is, your requirements for obtaining that funding are going to be very, very different. Federal grants tend to be very restricted. The RFP, request for proposal, is going to be very detailed, and you're just going to have a lot of paperwork, and just really be organized and be able to follow those instructions perfectly. Foundation grants are going to be a little bit less detailed, or less of a heavy lift, should I say, maybe. But also, you're still going to have those same elements that you need in place. You're going to need a budget. You're going to need all of your organizational documentation, data to support what you're asking for, and then weaving that with storytelling to really write a compelling narrative. So those themes are kind of the same, but to understand where the funding comes from initially is really important. A second thing I would want people to understand, that I also say a lot, is that, like I mentioned before, grants are not fast money. They're certainly not easy money.
Okay.
They require a lot of collaboration. If you're a bigger organization, that includes cross-departmental collaboration. So, the finance team is going to need to give you the numbers that you need for the program budget, and the people running the programs are going to need to send you outcomes and outputs, and track exactly what impact that program is having in the community, or is it having the intended result that it's supposed to. And as you go through a funding cycle, you will have to report on that funding and make sure that you're doing everything that you said in your application. So it's really important to understand that, and to understand that it's also a strategy. We don't just run out after them fast. We don't just go after what we see right away. A lot of organizations do that, but it's not necessarily going to be the most successful approach. Um, Probably the third I would say would be to really understand grant readiness. Organizations that have never gone after grants are in a good position, in a sense, to be grant ready, because everything's nice and tidy and we can just kind of build it from scratch, right? Organizations that have been getting grants for a little while might have had that spaghetti at the wall approach. And so that's where it's really good to come in and clarify exactly what you're looking to do with your grants. What are those gaps, and how are you being strategic in filling them? And then even bigger organizations that have been getting grants for a long time, they can really benefit from some refined research, or having a refreshed strategic plan or something like that, to again make sure that they're really clear about what they're seeking and who they're asking funding for that cause.
So you were talking before for the show. I mean, right now, how are grants? Are that's not money out there?
What's that? I'm sorry, you broke up.
But are how are the amount of money that's out there? Is it less money than normal, or what? How is the
Yeah, it is less money.
funds?
I would say it is less money than normal. That's
Okay.
probably a pretty accurate statement. The federal funding cuts have had some, pretty strong ripple effects, I would say, through the sector. Um, about almost 10%, I use the term workforce broadly, but about 10% of our country's workforce is in the nonprofit sector. And I wish I'd gotten numbers about the number of people that the nonprofit sector helps. So yes, the federal cuts are definitely having a pretty serious effect on organizations that were already struggling to meet the needs of the underserved.
Right.
And then, it's also affecting foundation giving as well, because where organizations were previously getting federal funds, foundations are now being inundated with applications. So it's spreading that funding a little thinner than it was before. One thing I like to point out as we move through these very different times in our sector is to for people to understand really the role that nonprofits play in society. Even if you don't think you've gotten services from a nonprofit, you probably have.
Yeah.
Nonprofits and grant funding are in hospitals, childcare, youth programs, 4-H, Boy Scouts, that kind of thing, museums and zoos. Nonprofits help veterans, they help people get degrees, they help with affordable housing, they help with recreation. If you enjoy being out in our beautiful foothills, a nonprofit and probably a volunteer was out there clearing those trails for you. Um, they provide a safety net for people who are underserved and very much in need. And then they also provide upward mobility for families and individuals who otherwise wouldn't be able to do it on their own, right?
Yep.
We pride ourselves, I think, in our culture of that individualism and doing everything on your own. And I think we all know that we all need help sometimes,
Oh
and
yeah.
and that's really what nonprofits do. So nonprofits and grants really touch every area of our lives. And I don't think a lot of people understand that unless they're really in the sector. I know I was certainly one of those people before I joined it myself. Um, and so that's something I'm trying to teach a little bit more awareness about that.
Yeah. It's like the Boise Rescue Mission here does
Yeah,
such a great job. And they don't, I don't know about the grant stuff, but I just know they take no federal money. And
right. They
it's
don't.
all, and they do such a great, and again, I'm a huge fan of them. And I've helped support them. But years ago, they got in a jam. I won't go into details. So I went down and did a video and then video down in one of their places, um, where the men stay, and
Yeah,
that's when I really got to see how many people they were helping. I mean, it was like, like
staggering.
it's like
Mhm.
a night, like 400 or 500 people a night now stay there, and they take care of them. Maybe it's individuals, women too, but
Yeah.
anyway, and then they have a drug uh, program that has like an 85% success rate, or 80, let's say
Yes.
80% success rate. If you go, they don't know, they never reoffend, so you got people that are, anyway. So yeah. I mean, sometimes people don't know. And then I years ago helped out the Women and Children's Alliance for a while. Another, again, I grew up here, fourth generation, but you just don't know what the
Right.
need is sometimes until you get there and kind of see the people and all the stories and stuff and how important nonprofits are here.
So true. Yeah,
Yeah.
well said. Yeah, those are two
Um,
great organizations.
so, um, ha- so yeah, I think you already kind of mentioned this that getting a nonprofit, grant ready.
Mhm.
That's kind of what you do, right?
It's one of many services. It's
Okay.
usually the first. Yeah. If
Okay.
they haven't, even if they have a pretty robust funding portfolio, we'll still go in and do kind of a light audit on their operations and see, what exactly do they have systems in place, that kind of thing. Make sure they have all those pieces. I've yet to encounter an organization that didn't have something in there that we could improve upon to
Oh.
increase their chances of funding. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's like anything when you specialize in something.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Fresh
you're,
eyes.
you
Yeah.
you dive into this. Grants are kind of what you do.
Yeah.
So sometimes like some like say know what they're doing, and then also your diversity, helping out all these different nonprofits and all the different types. And then you were talking about all the different the different types of grants and stuff. Is that they're just again a lot of times it's hard to kind of understand all that if you're not like you living it every day.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. Or you can have kind of a stereotype in your mind of what it might be in one specific area when
Right.
really they touch pretty much all areas of life.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been great. Hey, so if someone wanted to reach out to you, what would be the best way to reach out to you?
Well, I have a website that's pretty easy to get to,
Okay.
premioservices.com. That's PREMIO services.com.
It's right there
Um,
back behind you on the wall.
Yep. And then you can always Google me too. Grant Writer, Boise, Idaho. I'll usually come up first.
Okay.
Um, and those are probably the two easiest ways.
Yeah.
If you're a member of the Idaho Nonprofit Center, I'm also listed on in their directory.
Oh,
I'm an affiliate member there. And I'll be, if you're coming to that conference this year, I'll be there. So come visit me at my booth.
oh,
But yeah.
yeah.
Should be a good
And
event.
I'll have all your contact information in the show notes for sure on for people if they didn't get that. But real quick, talk about the conference.
Oh, the conference is coming up. I have to, it's in August. This is hosted by, I'm gonna get to it now so I don't miss anything. It's hosted by the Idaho Nonprofit Center.
Right.
And sorry, I would have had this, if I'd known we'd talk about this, I would have had this ready.
Oh, I'm sorry, I kind of sprung on you.
Yeah, it's okay. Here we go. I can do a plug for them, no problem.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's going to be Tuesday, August 26th through Wednesday, the 27th.
Okay.
It's really just it's 2 days of nonprofits just coming together and learning and problem solving together. They share a lot of resources. They always have a very inspiring keynote speaker with compelling data. I feel like, and most of us, at least in grant writing, are kind of data junkies.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
always nice. And probably one of the best things I see about this conference, because I work with so many executive directors and nonprofits, is this opportunity to come out of your office or come out of your heavy focused program work, for your particular nonprofit, and start hearing about what other executive directors are doing and start just having that camaraderie, sharing a few pain points, sharing some solutions, networking. That's I've seen that to be a pretty powerful benefit of the conference as well. We do, as you said in the introduction, we do have a really amazing community here in Idaho.
Right.
It's very inspiring seeing the giving that happens in our state. And so the nonprofit conference is just a great place to come and meet people and share stories and get good resources for continuing to do the work that helps make the world better.
That's right. Yeah. Years
Yeah.
ago, I was actually former life. I was there during one of those conferences, and they were great. I mean, I kind of, again, the Women Children's Alliance and some of those people.
Yeah.
Anyway, but no, it was great because, like you said, just a lot of different types of nonprofits of every type getting together and collaborating, and making you feel not so alone.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
like
It can feel like you're working in a silo a lot of the time.
yeah,
And I think with a lot of them in the cause areas with, just more suffering around them, there's some burnout that happens too when you're
yeah,
that close. You have to desensitize to some degree, but
yeah,
there's kind of that compounding stress that happens. So that companionship is really powerful.
yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Like I said, uh, I just can't say enough that the nonprofits, executive directors, for example, again, former life, I was involved in a lot of nonprofits, and I just know that executive directors, for the most part, are underpaid and overworked, and they had high turnover and high stress. And what are they there? They're there trying to help out. I mean, they come in for a really good cause.
Yeah.
But so no, the conference is a good thing to kind of, I don't know, just kind of get recharged. There's how about
Yes.
that?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Feel
Awesome.
seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, well, it's great having you on there. And like I said, until the next episode, we'll see,
Yeah.
listeners will uh, hopefully get something out of this episode. I'm sure they will, especially if they're in their grants. So anyway, I appreciate you,
Yeah.
Laura.
Thank you, Scott. I pledge to have I'll finish reading your book by the next time I see you, I promise.
Oh, cool. Cool. Awesome.
Almost done.
Thanks again.
Thanks.